In a bipartisan effort, U.S. Representatives Diana Degette and Mike Coffman introduced a bill to the U.S. House that would protect Colorado's marijuana operations. If ultimately passed, the Respect States and Citizens' Rights Act of 2017 would protect both medical and retail marijuana growers from being raided or sued by Congress over its legality. Michael, seeing something like this bipartisan cooperation, especially with Diana Degette and Mike Coffman, I don't know if this was more about marijuana in Colorado or more about bipartisan cooperation a year before 2018's elections. How do you read it?
Well, I think one thing is for sure that the Coffmans are dominating the news this week.
Yes, they are.
But I think the second thing, I think it could be a little bit of both, but you've seen this pushback, especially with the Trump administration coming in and really being unclear what their stance is going to be on marijuana in Colorado and in other states, to say, you know what, as a bipartisan rule in Colorado, we're going to push back against this. We're going to, make a statement. And I think there's no doubt this isn't going to pass Congress. It wouldn't get, signed into law. But I think it's more of a message to the administration. And Governor Hickenlooper had that meeting with Attorney General Sessions. He seemed to think that they were on pretty good terms coming out of that. Nothing for sure, but I think this is kind of piling onto that and say, hey, as a representatives, bipartisan, we have this view that we have this state right in order to do this, and the federal government shouldn't be pushing back against it.
Ed, I agree with Michael that this is a long shot and kind of a snowball's chance to get to President Trump's desk. But you have 33 states with some sort of form of legalized marijuana. That's a vast majority from 25 to tilted state-wise, but it also could drive enough inertia where it would get some attention. I don't think this means it passes or gets us anything like that, but that inertia might have some effect. Do you think that happens, or is this simply something that we notice here in Colorado because of our players and it goes away?
Well, this is just part of a push in Congress right now. I mean, we're focused on this bill, but don't forget, Ed Perlmutter is back again trying to run a bill allowing banks to handle marijuana money in states where it's legal, because they currently cannot do so. Even Bennett and Gardner are working on something to kind of basically protect states' rights. And I think this has got to come to a head at some point. I've talked about this before. One of the worst things the Obama administration did was it basically decided as a policy to turn a blind eye to states who are doing this, saying, yes, this may clash with federal law, but we're not going to go after them. Well, guess what? That doesn't solve the legal question here at all. All that did was put this off to another president, who Trump could come in right now and say, look, I'm sorry, you're breaking federal law by allowing marijuana. We're going to crack down on you. Now, the thing that's stopping him is what you mentioned, the majority of states doing this. But at some point, there's got to be a decision made by Congress or by the president on where this stands and whether or not the federal government will recognize the legality of these operations or whether or not it's going to crack down on them. Right now, it just continues in this, oh, I'll look the other way and pretend this isn't happening. And that's never going to lead to anything. I think the more bills that come out, the more it will force this administration to come up with a policy on it. And I think this is something we will see a decision come out on in the next couple of years, if not sooner.
Mike, let's get to the politics side. We had a great point last time, so let's stay there. You have Mike Coffman working on a bipartisan bill with Diana Degette. That in his old days, the way CD6 was drawn up, may not have swung too well. Now, the way CD6 is drawn up, I think would actually sell pretty well. It maybe not the only consideration there, but should it be a major consideration in how he's handling things?
He represents a swing district now. Partnering with Diana Degette's a good idea if you want to come across as bipartisan. I mean, let's be honest, though. All these bills on marijuana are posturing. It takes two to tango. If the president's not going to sign it into law, it might as well not actually happen. The place I'll be watching to see for more clear smoke signals from the Trump administration will be during the U.S. Attorney confirmation hearings once Trump nominates somebody for the District of Colorado. That will be where the Senate can hold somebody up or at least nail that person down on a commitment to whether enforce or not enforce federal marijuana laws or whether or not they'll assert federal supremacy.
Patty, what do you think about the efforts from Colorado's congressional delegation on the pot issue? I mean, now we've seen it from a bipartisan effort on a couple of different issues. It sounds like it would be a very important issue for Colorado. Are they doing it the right way?
Well, they're doing something, which is good. Even if you may not ever get it through Congress, you may not, much less to Trump's desk, you still need to make the effort. Perlmutter pushing for the banking is really important. Jared Polis is on the Congressional Cannabis Caucus and pushing. Now for these two to join in just strengthens Colorado's position. Let's remember that this was a $1.37 billion industry last year in Colorado. And on the latest Quinnipiac poll, 90% of Americans said they favor medical marijuana of some kind and access to it. So at the very least, the federal government has got to come clean with a clear rule for that. When 90% of Americans want access to this kind of medicine, that's important.